Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2019 Men's Member Pregame Show, hosted in Highlands Golf Club in Pataskala, Ohio. We're going to jump right into the Flight A group. Most of the names you'll recognize from last year, several different combination changes, and two new teams which we'll dive into here in a little bit. We're going to start with the number one team this year, Andy Schweitzer, with a new partner, Dan Gervais. Dan Gervais, last year's winner, partnered with Mike Simone. Unfortunately for these guys, they are the lowest handicap in the field by 6 strokes on the next closest team. Showing up at handicaps of 5 and 7. Andy moving up to a 5. Doubled his handicap conveniently the week before member. He got to figure hopefully he turns around that game. Been shooting some pretty high numbers if you look at that handicap number, so hopefully he's able to get his game turned around in time. In the 2 spot, Ralph Green and Terry Turpin, last year's partners, actually getting less strokes than they did last year. Coming in on the auction value at $400. Very solid team. You got to think that there's a lot of points out there for these guys. Ralph very steady. Should be able to cover a lot of pars. Really going to come down to Terry if he can get a lot of those pars and maybe a couple birdies to drop. In the 3 spot, Dan White, Rick Von Klosberg, coming back for their 3rd year as partners. You knew the story last year. Well, it happened again. Day 1 leaders the last 2 years in a row, and day 2 finishes, and they're in 2nd. Got to figure they're motivated. Last year they were the lowest handicap. This year, middle of the pack. Dan coming in at 8. Rick Von Klosberg at a high 10. I don't know the last time he's been out of 10. It's got to make for a dangerous team, and the auction value is reflected there. New team this year in the 4 spot, Brad Gill, Gary Brewer. Getting 8 and 10 strokes, coming in at $460, although there is rumors that they may buy back their team. Actually, I've just been told that they're withdrawing. Or no, wait, hang on. Looks like they're playing just for skins, or not. Maybe they're playing again. We're not sure, but they're still in the field. And you got to think anytime the money's right, Brad Gill and Gary Brewer will come to play. In the 5 spot, Adam Hayes, new partner this year with Jerry Rack, getting strokes of 7 and 12. Mr. 96 looking to bounce back this year, based off a little bit of a rough tournament schedule last year. Really looking to make a dent on one of the big majors at Highlands Golf Club. You just got to hope that they don't start on the number 1 tee. If they don't start on the number 1 tee, you got to think Hayes and Rack have a chance. In the 6th spot, coming back from last year, Mark Schillig and Jeff Gall, same exact handicap numbers as last year. Actually, I take that back. Mark Schillig came in as an 8 last year. They're actually getting a few more strokes this year. Unfortunately for them, the men's member tees off at 9 o'clock on both days. You got to figure that they're probably not going to get the game going until around noon, which only leaves them 4 or 5 holes to go per day, so that might hold them back a little bit. In the 7th spot, your highest team auction value-wise, Kevin Baisden, Dave Slay, getting 13 and 14 strokes. We'll take a look at Slay in the player spotlight here very shortly, but that's enough strokes in this division to potentially do some damage. Both solid players when they don't drink too much, which, well, let's be honest, happens all the time. So we'll see what they can do, but look for this team to be creeping around the money all weekend. And in the 8th spot, new team, Jason Bernard, former superintendent, and Bill Clee. You got to figure Jason will be able to give Bill a lot of information on the greens. Type of grass, when it was last mowed, maybe how it breaks. We'll see how that goes. Coming at $340, you got to think that they've got a chance with those numbers. All it takes is a couple pars in a row, and they're right around there, and we'll see how that goes. In the Flight A, we want to take a look at a player spotlight. We're going to take a look at Dave Slay, hometown of Lancaster, Ohio, in his 2nd year at Highlands Golf Club. Shot a 79 2 weeks ago, which is why a lot of people like them as a dark horse candidate. High round of the year, 96. He's a guy who posts the scores. What can you say? Probably alcohol was involved. You never know. Average score of 88.9. It's going to have to be below his average if they want to compete. We'll see what happens there. Average beers per round, 8.25. That is being contested. I've been told it's higher, but that's the statistics we have to go on. As we move to Flight B, there's only one team in Flight B that was together last year, so we've got a whole bunch of not necessarily new faces, but new pairings. We'll start with the number 1 team in Flight B. Out of the 9th spot, Mark Potnick is paired with John Keough, getting 6 and 12. Relatively low auction value here if you take a look at some of the other teams out there at $320. Mark Potnick's got to go from the gold tees. And I don't know the last time he's played them, so he's going to have to navigate his way around that course. Going to be hitting some different shots than he's used to. Only getting 6 strokes, but you got to think with Mark and very steady John Keough that these guys are really going to challenge Drew and Terry and others for the title this year. In the 10th spot, your last year's Flight B champions, Drew McAvoy, Terry Black. You know the story. They won in 2017 in the A flight. They won in 2018 in the B flight. And they're back trying for their third in a row. Much less strokes this year. Last year getting 11 and 14. This year 7 and 13. Coincidentally, they also have the highest auction value of any team this year at $575. That does reflect the two-time champions over the last 2 years. You gotta think that they're desperately going to want to get some of that money back. In the 11th spot, Jim Osborne, Jim Seibert, most likely Oz's last year playing member. Paired with Jim Seibert, just as everybody knows, they've got the two fastest carts on the course. So you gotta figure that they're probably not going to lose any golf balls out there. You gotta think that makes them dangerous. Only $220, great value here. If you're looking at some prop betting action or parimutuel money, this is a great team to throw a couple bucks on. In the 12th spot, Brian Strom, Steve Iacono. Steve breaking up the very successful Rick Robinson, Steve Iacono pairing. Rick wasn't able to play this year as you look at the 14 and 19 handicaps. I've heard it on pretty good information that Strom used to be a lot lower. This is a pretty common dark horse favorite from a lot of people. They went first in the auction. You got to think if they had gone later in the day that this is a $350, maybe even a $400 team. A lot of people like the number 12 team there. 13, Barry Kent, Ed Morgan at 13 and 21. Cheapest team in the market. They just weren't at the auction, I think, which is what brought the value down a little bit there. Regardless of whether or not they play well, you can be sure that the flowers at Highlands Golf Course will be watered with those two on the golf course. In the 14th spot, Dave Westhoven and Tom Flynn, 15 and 18. Westhoven doesn't mind playing a long round, makes him a perfect partner with Tom Flynn. You got to think that they'll be near the back of the snake all day, hopefully playing in under 5 hours. $350 is a pretty fair price at 15 and 18. That's just the right amount of strokes for those two. They absolutely can beat that and be a player. Ken Marshall and Mark McAvoy in the 15 team at 13 and 23. Auction price at $355, which is a pretty fair value for these guys. I think when you look at the total strokes along with the quality of play, they have definitely a chance to compete. Anybody who plays with Mark does have an advantage this weekend with rain in the forecast, as Mark is sure to have a spare rain glove available for anybody who's playing with him. In the 16th spot, Bob Barker, Mark McBain, 17 and 22. A little bit of a shame with these two partnered together. Mark McBain has a lot of great stories, but unfortunately Barker doesn't hear too well, so probably a lot of wasted story time going on out on the course with those two. And in the 17th spot, Gary Biederman and Paul Bennett, 19 and 23. These are two guys that no matter how they play, always enjoy their time on the golf course. Don't sleep on them. These guys absolutely, especially with playing three places, could absolutely finish in the money. Two guys that just never get mad out there on the golf course. Paul Bennett's more likely to burn something else rather than a scorecard at the end of a round. From the player spotlight, we're going to take a look at Drew McAvoy, your two-time champion, paired with Terry Black this year. Hometown of Pataskala, Ohio. He's been at Highlands forever. I don't even know if we have an official total count on how long he's been out there. Low round this year of 72 from the Golds. High round of 87. Average score 79.2. Only getting 7 strokes. Quite honestly, he's got to be below that 79 number for them to have a chance for the three-peat. Average beers per round, unfortunately for Drew this year, is down. It's down to 6.75. Caught a bad case of the sugar, so it's really been impacting what he can do out on the course. Got to think maybe that's why that 72 crept in this year. A few less beers, a few less strokes, just a thought. But you never know. As we move on to the betting preview, some common prop bets are out there today. Will the range be open Saturday morning? Last year it was a -120. This year it's a -110. Everybody knows we got a lot of rain, and that brings us into our second prop bet. Will the course actually be open? Yes at -850, no at +400. Quite honestly, at Highlands, you never know when they might close the golf course. Will the kitchen be open? We do have a cook. We've had a cook for a long time. He's actually now cooking food. So yes is still +125 because you just never know. But no, -150. I think a lot of people are probably going to take the yes bet and be happy bettors here. 404 total round time of the Tom Flynn pairing. Keynote, Vegas dropped this line from last year's number. Was 445 down to 435 this year. Over still heavy action. We expect Tom to be out there for quite a while. with rain potential. We decided to pull in the weather forecast. As you can see, Saturday 76 and sunny as of right now, 0% chance of rain. And on Sunday, only a 30% chance of afternoon thunderstorms, high of 82. The rest of the week looking okay. Heaven knows we don't need any more rain. I'm sorry, I'm just being told due to the projected forecast, they've actually closed the course. So the member may not be being played. We'll try and get more information, but again, due to the forecast and projected weather, they've decided to close the course. That's going to be it for the wrap-up show. We'll join you guys Saturday night and wrap up day one. From all of us in the Jack Daniels Broadcasting booth, we're happy to have you here, and we'll see you Saturday night.